welcome to another edition. It's a Monday night and it's your favorite game plan show right here on Facebook. We are streaming live on our Facebook page, Pulse Ghana Sport. My name, as always, is Fifi Anaman. What do I have on the menu tonight? I'll be telling you about boxing, and more boxing. I'll also be telling you a bit about football. We have some Ghanaian strikers in Europe doing us proud, banging in the goals in some of the leagues as well. I'm talking specifically about Raphael Dwamena and David Accam. I'll also be telling you about the GPL. We went into match week 24 over the weekend, just gradually drawing to the business end, and we have clubs, clamoring for the top and some battling at the bottom. And, more boxing, as I said earlier, we'll start with the bout that happened at the Bukom Boxing Arena on Saturday between Dogboe and Javier Chacon. As always, you can send in your comment on our Facebook page, Pulse Ghana Sport. Remember, we are live and we'll read your comments live on the show. I'll be glad to welcome anything that you want us to read on the show as well. Now, let me do the introduction again. My name, again, is Fifi Anaman. And let's start off with what happened last Saturday night at the Bukom Boxing Arena. Dogboe against Javier Nicolas Chespita Chacon. That happened for the WBO International Super Bantamweight title, which Dogboe won last December in Auckland, New Zealand. Now, he was defending that title against Argentine Javier Chacon, who arrived in the country last Tuesday with his whole corner team as well. Now, the big day came, and what happened? Isaac, the Royal Storm, the brave kid Dogboe, finally romped to a victory. Now, that victory was via the technical knockout route, and it happened after the 6th round when Javier Chespita Chacon decided not to continue the fight after he broke his hand. But before then, of course, Dogboe managed to open a cut just above the left brow of Javier Chacon. Very interesting fight that happened at the Bukom Boxing Arena. And we have the highlight courtesy Bukom Boxing News right on your screens now.
Here's the champ, crossing love from the red corner.
Isaac the Royal Storm, the brave kid, Dogboe, doing Ghana proud there at the Bukom Boxing Arena, defending his WBO International Super Bantamweight title, or Super Featherweight, Junior Featherweight, whichever way you choose to call it, the same division but different names or so. So this win, of course, from this bout will send him straight to Vegas, where he's hoping to win the WBO Super Bantamweight World title, which is currently being held by American Jesse Magdaleno. He's 25 years of age. He won that title last year against Filipino Donito Donaire. And interestingly, the referee who officiated that bout between Magdaleno and Donito Donaire was the same referee who was in the middle between Isaac Dogboe and Javier Chacon on Saturday at the Bukom Boxing Arena. So destiny, you might just want to call it that. I'm very excited for this young man. He's 22 years of age. Of course, Javier Chacon came in at 36 years of age, and he couldn't stand the strong, flurry of blows from Isaac Dogboe. Now, Isaac Dogboe's current record is very interesting. 17 fights, 17 wins. Clean record going into his first world title bout, which we are hoping will be sometime later this year. And interesting fact from after the bout, Azumah Nelson, who is Ghana's, biggest export with regards to boxing. Ghana has had 7 world boxing champions, and Azumah Nelson is one of them. He held 2 world titles at various points in his career. He was asked who Ghana's next big boxing star is, or who Ghana's biggest boxing star at the moment is, and he said, everyone saw what happened tonight at the Bukom Boxing Arena. So he clearly endorsed Isaac the Royal Storm Dogboe to go all the way to win the world title from Jesse Magdaleno later this year in Vegas. So we're all praying that this comes to pass for the young man who was ecstatic after the fight, thanking his team, his dad, Paul Dogboe, and everyone who managed to make the fight possible there as well. So that's what happened at the Bukom Boxing Arena on Saturday. Ghana now has a world title challenger, and we have more exciting boxing news for you along the same lines of challengers for a world title. Let me tell you about our next topic, right? Let's talk Duke Micah, another promising boxer from Ghana. He's not in the Super Bantamweight title, he's just in the Bantamweight section. Now, he has landed a very interesting deal with the legendary Evander Holyfield. Now, the promotional firm is called Real Deal Sports and Entertainment, and this was announced by their COO, Eric Bentley, and Micah's co-manager, Michael Amobediako of Streetwide Management of Essex, England, and Jacob Zwenes of Errol Hawk Sports Management of New Jersey in the United States. Of course, Real Deal Sports Management is owned by Evander Holyfield, sometime heavyweight champion of the world. He was the nemesis of Mike Tyson a few years back, for those of you who are close fans of boxing. So Duke Micah has landed a big deal, which means he will be relocating to the United States and he will be challenging for world titles and the like. Let me just give you a bit of background on Duke Micah. He's currently 25 years of age. He's in the Bantamweight division. He has a record of 20 fights and not a single loss. So a clean record, 18 knockouts he has to his name. He's currently ranked number 6 on the WBO Bantamweight rankings and number 15 by the WBC. Now, in November last year in England, he defeated Zambian Matthew Chanda over 12 rounds to earn the Commonwealth Bantamweight title. So he's currently the holder of the Commonwealth Bantamweight title. And in March earlier this year, he defeated Mexican Jonathan Aguilar to win the WBC International Bantamweight title. Now, let me tell you a bit of a secret, or a known secret for most people who like boxing. The holder of an international title of a particular weight division of a particular organization, let me give you an example. So Isaac Dogboe on Saturday was the holder of the WBO International Super Bantamweight title. Now, records have it that holders of the international version of the world title actually go on to win the world title itself. So this is good news that we have Duke Micah defeating Jonathan Aguilar of Mexico to win the WBO International Bantamweight title, which means he has a clear shot at the world title. And let me read you interesting comments coming in from Evander Holyfield on Duke Micah. Now, Holyfield, of course, said Duke is on the verge of being a world champion, and we are proud to bring him to our company. We expect big things from him in the very near future. So it's from the big man himself, Evander Holyfield. I'm sure most of you remember. I mean, he was a big hero during my childhood, big heavyweight boxer. Now has signed a promising Ghanaian boxer in the name of Duke Micah. The current WBO bantamweight champion of the world is Filipino Marlon Tapales. He has been a champion for a while now, and the WBC bantamweight champion is Japanese Shunsuke Yamanaka. He's been reigning since 2011 and has had 12 successful title defenses. It's unheard of. You know, he's been reigning since forever, and for the last 6 to 7 years. That's a WBC bantamweight title holder as well. So these are some of the boxers that Evander Holyfield would hope Duke Micah would be facing in the future. Now, before the Aguilar fight, which was in March, Duke Micah Aguilar at the Bukum Boxing Arena, Duke Micah made some very interesting comments, and I would love our readers to hear of them right now. He said, "I am the new face of Ghana boxing. I refuse to lose as a boxer, and I'm always going to be a champion. That's my job. I am promising all Ghanaians that a world title is coming to Ghana very soon. Duke Micah is definitely going to make Ghana proud." Of course, he went on to beat up Jonathan Aguilar in that fight to retain or to win the WBO International Bantamweight title. He said again, "I am going to be a world champion. I knew this even before I was born." Interesting there from Duke Micah. "This is my job, and I urge all Ghanaians to troop to the stadium to watch me defend this title." So that's what he said before beating up, or whooping Jonathan Aguilar of Mexico at the Bukum Boxing Arena earlier this year. So Duke Micah, 25 years of age, 20 fights, not a single loss. He's currently ranked number 6 by WBO, and number 15 by WBC. So top hot prospect for Ghana for a world title. And Evander Holyfield, of all people, believes that this Ghanaian is going to win a world title. So it makes you wonder, the sudden breeze of excitement that has been gripping Ghana boxing. Of course, Dogboe will be going to Vegas later this year for a world title fight, and of course Duke Micah is being tipped for a world title as well. Now let's go for a quick break, and when we come back, I'll read some comments and tell you about yet another boxer who has landed a deal with an international sports promotional firm. Okay, so you're back on the Game Plan Show. We're streaming live on our Facebook page, Paul's Ghana Store. Remember to bring in your comments, send in your comments on our Facebook page, just below the video you are watching. Just bring in anything you want to say, a question, a remark, a suggestion. We'll be glad to read them on the show. My name, of course, is Fifi Anama. We've been discussing a lot of issues on tonight's edition of the Game Plan Show. Now, let me tell you about another boxer who is making Ghana proud out there. Now, before then, let me just go on Facebook and see who is watching and who is commenting at the most. So many of your comments coming in. Very glad there. Vitalis, our regular viewer, he's saying Dogboe is really our next Azuma Nelson. Surely Dr. Jan's product will go far. Of course, Vitalis, a bit of a correction there. Dogboe is actually not fighting under Baby J Promotions. Emmanuel Gameboy Tego, who is the current IBO lightweight champion of the world, is fighting under Baby Jet Promotion. So Dogboe is not under Baby Jet, even though he has a close association with those boxers and those promoters as well. So that's it for you, Vitalis. Thank you very much for your comment. Jimmy Soga, you are saying, well done, Dogboe. Proud of you. Osman Sisse, you are saying, good job, bro. Thank you very much for your comment, Osman. Vitalis, you are saying, big up to my striker, Ahmed Simba Toure, who is watching the Game Plan right now. Shout out to you, Ahmed Toure, in the Ghana Premier League, doing your thing with Bechem United. Now, Kojo Daakon Sechi Jinai, you are saying Dogboe is a great sports asset for the country. Of course, I agree with you. Only 22 years of age and already in with a world title shot. Fame Degener, you are saying good work, bro. Ghana is going. Thank you very much, Fame. Nicken, senior citizen. Minyobia, I can't read your whole name, but can't say. You are saying Dogboe is a darling boy. Well done. Thank you. Yaya Toure Ibrahim Ganes, you are saying congrats to Accra House of Hope for a splendid performance against Temayud. But hey, Thomas Abe is a force to reckon with, such a talented and hardworking captain. Now, Daniel Lamte, you're saying good work. Thanks to you, bro. Kofi Tima, you're saying watching you live from Tafo. Thank you very much. Abdul Wadudu, I see you watching. I would love to hear your thoughts on the show. Nana Kweku, as always, is watching us tonight, and he's saying, according to Nana Kweku, the next big boxer in Ghana will be Dr. Samuajan if the Black Stars fans don't leave him. Thank you very much for your comment, Nana Kweku. Interesting one there. Noah Touche Alawiye, you're saying Dogboe and Micah are looking like great guys. Thank you very much. Jay Frimpong, you're saying you're watching from Kotobabi in Accra. Thank you for your comment. Let's move on to our next big story, which has to do with Richard Oblite Commey, 30-year-old Ghanaian boxer who has also landed, interestingly, an international deal with Lou DiBella in the United States of America. Now, the DiBella Entertainment, which is the main firm of Lou DiBella, boxing promoter and film and TV producer as well. Lou DiBella Entertainment, obviously, is located in New York City in the US of A. So that's what is happening in the camp of Richard Oblite Commey, who, you know, has lost only 2 bouts in his entire professional career. He has a fight record of 25 wins and 2 losses there. He's currently ranked number 6 on the IBF rankings and number 4 on the WBC rankings as well. All his losses came last year in September in Pennsylvania. He lost a world title fight for the IBF lightweight title against Robert Easter Jr. I mentioned earlier in Pennsylvania. He lost that fight as well. And then later on in December in Moscow, he lost against Denis Shafikov for, you know, it was not a title bout for that one in December. But the earlier one in September against Robert Easter Jr. was for the IBF world lightweight title. So he was unlucky not to win that bout, Richard Oblite Commey. Of course, in March this year, he beat up Hedi Slimani in Bukom to win the WBC International Silver Lightweight title. Now let me read you some interesting comments from Lou DiBella himself, who has signed on Richard Commey. He's saying that, I think Richard Commey is in the top echelon of 135 pounders in the world. Both of his losses were by split decision, and he clearly won that Shafikov fight, but that fight was in Moscow, and that's just how it goes. He could very easily be undefeated, only have 1 loss or a draw, but he is a very, very good fighter. And when I realized he was a free agent a couple of months ago, we began the process of pursuing him and were able to work out a deal with his manager, Michael Amobediakon. Richard is going to relocate from Ghana to the New York area where there is better sparring. We want him to get a little exposure to the United States. The guy can fight his ASS off. That's from Lou DiBella himself. He's a legit world-class guy and a guy certainly capable of winning a world championship. Of course, he came close last September, like I said earlier, against Robert Easter Jr. there as well. Let me tell you a bit about Lou DiBella and his DiBella Entertainment. They've signed on a lot of boxers in the world. It's a premium, you know, a top boxing promotional firm. They currently have the current champion for the WBC division. The WBC organization's heavyweight champion of the world. He's called Deontay Wilder from America, and he has 38 wins and 37 of them by knockout. 38 fights, 38 wins, 37 of them by knockout. Of course, he will be he's expected to challenge Anthony Joshua later on for, you know, a unification of the belt. Of course, Anthony Joshua currently has the WBA and the IBF world heavyweight titles as well, and the WBC belt belongs to Deontay Wilder, who is signed under Lou DiBella's entertainment company in the United States. So Richard Commey is walking into a firm that has established boxers, world champions in their fold. So that's only good news for Ghanaian boxing as well. We have Duke Micah signing with Real Deal Sports Entertainment, manned by Evander Holyfield, and Richard Oblite Commey signing under DiBella Entertainment, manned by the man himself, Louis DiBella, in New York City as well. So that's it for Richard Oblite Commey, 30 years of age, 25 wins, 2 losses. 22 KOs, 6 on IBF rankings, and number 4 on WBC rankings as well. Now, let me tell you something interesting. Now, the WBO have ordered Alejandro Luna and Richard Commey, who are the leading available contenders according to the organization's rankings, to meet for the right to become the mandatory challenger to Robert Easter Jr. So the IBF, sorry, I mentioned WBO earlier. The IBF have ordered Alejandro Luna of America and Richard Commey of Ghana to fight it out to find out who would challenge Robert Easter Jr., who beat Richard Commey last year for the IBF World Lightweight title. Of course, Alejandro Luna is 25 years of age. He's fought 22 times without a single loss. So this bout will be very interesting. We're expecting it to happen in the US of A. Alejandro Luna from America, 22 years of age, against Richard Oblite Commey of Ghana, 30 years of age, to find out who will challenge IBF lightweight title holder Robert Easter Jr. later on this year, or perhaps early next year as well. So that's it for boxing news for tonight's edition of the Game Plan Show. Remember, this is the 52nd edition. We are streaming live on our Facebook page, Paul's Ghana Sport. Please do all to drop your comments. My name is Fifi Anama. We'll go for a quick break and we'll be back to discuss more football with the Ghana Premier League. We're back on the Game Plan Show. It's a Monday night. Thanks for joining us on our Facebook page, Paul's Ghana Sport. My name is Fifi Anaman. Let's talk some Ghana Premier League, shall we? We entered match day 24 over the weekend. Games were played across Saturday and Sunday as well. Interesting results coming in. I'll read you to them in a bit. Now, let's start off with Saturday's games. And at the TNA Park in Takwa, we had Midiama SC in a 0-0 draw against Adriana Stars. Now, Midiama currently have 1 loss in their last 5 games, and they are unbeaten in their last 3 games, and they've moved up to 4th on the Ghana Premier League table. So, things going well for the Mauves and Yellows from Takwa as well. Now, let's move on to Sunday, and there were about 5 games that took place on Sunday. Let's start off with Cape Coast and what happened there. Ebusua Dwarfs were in a 2-2 draw with WA All Stars. Goal scorers Joseph Bensil and Isaac Quain for Ebusua Dwarfs, as well as Paul Asari DeVries and Kweku Eswanze for WA All Stars, the defending league champions. Of course, Paul Asari DeVries, like I mentioned in earlier editions of the Game Plan Show, has been playing at WA All Stars for as long as we can remember, since 2012, I believe. Potent attacking player then. Let's move on to Tamale and Bolga All Stars, who have been struggling to win games this season in the Ghana Premier League. They were thrashed by 4-0 at their own backyard at the hands of Brekum. Chelsea goal scorers were Ivan Sobin, who bagged a brace, Stephen Safo, and Abedi Karim, doing the damage for the lads from Brekum, the Blues from Brekum. Let's move on to Accra, and this was where all the action was. Accra House of Oak won by 3-1 against the Harbour City Boys, Tema Youth. That game happened at the Accra Sports Inn, like I mentioned earlier. And interestingly, Thomas Abe, and I hope we have his image playing on your screen right about now. Thomas Abe, the captain of Accra House of Oak, scored a brace, which means he's currently on top of the top goal scorers chart in the Ghana Premier League as well. It was a 3-1 victory for Accra House of Oak. And we have Abe's goal, courtesy a fan from the stands, and it was shared on Accra House of Oak's official Twitter page. Have a look at the goal, the second goal scored by Thomas Abe, Captain Fantastic of the Phobia Boys. Thomas Abe of Accra House of Oak. There's been a lot of talk about whether he should be, already gifted the Player of the Season award, because he's been the most improved player, the best player this season in the Ghana Premier League. Undoubtedly, arguably the biggest star in the Ghana Premier League right now. Captain of Accra, so getting in the goals. He's not even a striker, pursuing the top agenda for the Phobia Boys, who haven't won the league title since 2009. Interesting there. So Accra Asofo winning by 3-1 against Tema Youth. Of course, Kwame Kizito scored Accra Asofo's other goal, and Joseph Painso scored from the spot kick, for the Harbour City Boys. So let's move on. Of course, Accra Asofo recovering from losses to Bechem United and Ash Gold. They've now won 2 consecutive games on the trot. Good for coach Frank Natal, who has been having problems. We won't be discussing it on the show today, but good victory for Accra Asofo there. Let's move on to Cape Coast, where Elmina Sharks were 2-1 winners over Bechem United. And interestingly, Felix Addo scored a brace for Elmina Sharks, the boys of Dr. Park. We see Indum, and Sadiq Haji Abubakar scored the only goal for Bechem United. Now, Elmina Sharks have gone 4 consecutive games with wins. Interestingly, they've won 4 games on the trot now, and they are now in 7th place. Interesting for the newbies in the Ghana Premier League, proving that they won't be going down without a fight. Already in mid-table, and it's safe to say that they just might be playing in the Premier League next season if they keep up this stunning form. And in Dansoman, Liberty Professionals were 1-0 winners over Ashanti Gold. Interestingly, Ashanti Gold seem to be on a resurgence, right? They won 6 games without a win, 5 of which they won consecutively, and suddenly they lost last week, and they've lost once again to Liberty Professional. Ernest Papako, the veteran, scoring for Liberty Professionals in Dansoman to score a victory over CK Akono's Ash Gold. Now let's move on to our last game, and at the Elwak Sports Stadium, Inter Allies were 0-1 losers at the hands of Oli Dade, Oli Nkonson, Oli Rosalinda, Oli Game Plan, Oli Fifi Anaman. They were winners over Inter Allies at the Elwak Sports Stadium. Of course, Benjamin Arthur scored the goal for Great Olympia. Now let me take you to the Ghana Premier League table and see what is happening there as well. Interesting stuff happening on top of the Ghana Premier League. Ghana Stars are currently on top, 44 points. Of course, Wafa are second, but they have 2 games in hand. So interestingly, Ghana Stars are leading by a point, but they might just be overtaken by the Sogakope boys from Wafa, who have 2 games in hand. The Accra Asofo are third, 39 points. Midiama SC are fourth, 35 points. Asante Kotoko, who have 2 games in hand due to the unfortunate accident they suffered last 2 weeks, they are fifth. And we have Brekum Chelsea in 6th, Elmina Sharks in 7th, Bechem United in 8th, Ebusian Dwarfs in 9th, Wa All Stars in 10th, defending champion Inter Allies in 11th, Liberty Professionals in 12th, Tema Youth at 13th. And for the bottom 3, we have Ash Gold back in the bottom 3, 14th place, 15th place, Olidade, despite their their win against Inter Allies at Elwak, and Bolga All Stars, who have lost as many as 16 of their 24 games. Can you imagine Bolga All Stars? So this, I guess it's fair to say that they will be making a quick U-turn back into the 2nd tier of Ghanaian football. Let me take you to the goal scorers chart, top goal scorers chart, and Thomas Abbey, by virtue of his brace at the Accra Sports Stadium for Accra House of Folk during their 3-1 win over the weekend, has moved to 12 goals. Ahmed Toure, who we are hearing is watching the game plan show, you are on 12 goals as well. Nicholas Jan of Dwarfs, who has scored, almost half of Dwarfs' goals this season. He's on 11 goals. And Stephen Safo of Brekum Chelsea on 11 goals. You have Joseph Pencil on 10, Bernardo Foridanso on 8, Daniel Agbulo Lomote of Wafa on 8 as well. So that's it for the Ghana Premier League. Interesting results and permutations and, whatever it is you want to call it, coming in from match week 24. Remember, there are 6 more match weeks to go, and it remains to be seen whether the Sogakope boys, the West African Football Academy, will hold on and win the title. That would be some fairy tale, wouldn't it? Now let's take a quick break on the game plan show. We'll be back to read some more comments and move on to other stories. on the Game Plan Show. Still with me, Fifi, and I'm still streaming on Pulse Ghana Sport, our Facebook page. Let's quickly read some of your comments coming in at the moment. I see most of you watching, most of you commenting. We have a lot of fans on today's show. Noah Touche Alawi, you are saying Dogboe and Micah are looking like great guys. Thank you. Yao Nyaku, you're saying, what about Bukom Banku's fight? Bukom Banku is scheduled to fight later this year against Basti Samer. We'll be bringing updates on the fight as and when we get them. We know on the Game Plan Show we like to, big up Ghanaian innovation in sport across boxing and football and everywhere else. We'll be bringing you details, we promise you, on the Game Plan Show as well. Now, Joe Enchibuesiako, of course, Yao Nyaku Bukom, what? He is not a boxer. Interesting from Joe Entry. Noah Touche Alawiye, you are saying, Phobia is looking rejuvenated. Hope Has can do more of what they did against Tema Youth. Interesting comment from you. Yao Nyaku, you are saying, Joe Enchibuesiako, can you fight him? So there seems to be a fight developing in the comments section. We'll be following this and we bring you commentary, live commentary on the Game Plan Show. Joe Enchibuesiako, you are saying it's an almost empty stadium. I guess you are talking about the House of Old game. Well, the Ghana Premier League these days, usual scene there. Abdallah Afudodo, you're saying, Mr. Fifi, good evening, my brother. Thank you. Good evening to you too, Abdallah Afudodo. Nana Kweko, I still see you watching. Thank you very much. Safas Pogli, you are saying you are looking so nice. Keep it up. Wow, very interesting and kind comment. Thank you for that. Yao Nyaku, thank you, Fifi. I see you, Yao Nyaku. Good evening to you as well. Let's move on to our next story. Isaac Otubo is giving me a lot of pressure in the studio today. We are still streaming live on our Facebook page, Pulse Ghana Sport. Do what to bring in your comment. And let's talk some Raphael Dwamena. Raphael Dwamena, 21-year-old Ghanaian striker, recently made his Black Stars debut against Ethiopia, scored a brace, I believe, announced his presence in the national team with a bang. Of course, for those of you who had never heard of him, he scored over 30 goals across two teams, Austria Lustenau and FC Zurich last season. And so he's a potent striker. And now he's playing in the first year of Swiss football with FC Zurich. Last season, he joined them halfway through and helped them qualify for the top flight. And now he's in the top flight. And this weekend, the Swiss Super League kicked off. And guess who was on the score sheet? Raphael Dwamena. 2 goals he scored to help his side FC Zurich to a 2-0 away win against Grasshopper FC. And we have the highlights of his goal courtesy Tele Club Sport on your screens in a moment.
Setzen will, auch in der Raiffeisen Super League. So, Juricin, da kommt Sigur Jansson und der trifft nichts. Riesenchance für den Grasshopper Club in der 16. Minute. Juricin, Brillanz. Dwamena. Adrian Winzer, Dwamena, Tor! 23. Minute, 1-0 für den FCZ, Raphael Dwamena. Und da strahlt auch Köbi Kuhn, der ehemalige Nazi-Trainer und bekennende FCZ-Fan. Raphael Dwamena trifft auch in seinem ersten Super League-Spiel. Dwamena. Tunnel Charles Pickel und zwingt Lindner zu einer fantastischen Tat. Also dieser Dwamena, der sorgt für so viel Gefahr. Markierte. Frei verlängert da für Rodriguez und es gibt Penalty für den FC Zürich. Ausgangspunkt der weite Einwurf von Alain F. Achten Sie in der Mitte auf Vilotic, der umarmt Dwamena. Und das ist ein Elfmeter, den man geben kann. Die 61. Minute und Lindner hält. Das könnte ein Wendepunkt sein in diesem Zürcher Derby. Dieser verschossene Penalty von Michael Frey. Eigentlich gar nicht schlecht getreten. Ein Sieg im Derby gegen GC wäre natürlich ein Traumstart für den Aufsteiger. Dwamena mit dem Schlenzer, 2-0, das ist die Entscheidung. Fantastisches Tor von Raphael Dwamena, Doppelpack des Ghanas.
Did you see that second goal from Raphael Dwamena? I mean, you know, this is a striker we've all tipped for big things. Of course, we gave him his first big Ghana interview on the Game Plan show, and this is not us touting our horns, but come on. We did it first. We brought him on the Game Plan show. We are so glad to see what he's achieving for himself. Of course, he signed for FC Zurich halfway through last season, scored 12 goals in 18 games to help them to the Swiss Challenge League title, which is the Swiss second tier. Now he's in the top flight, and if you add up all his goals and appearances, he scored 14 goals in 20 games since arriving in Switzerland in January. You know, top striker already with 2 goals in his top flight debut for FC Zurich as well. So Raphael Dwamena, big things happening for him. 21-year-old Ghana striker doing the country proud. Let's move on to another player doing Ghana proud. David Accam. David Accam plays in the MLS for Chicago Fire. He joined that side in 2015. This is his 3rd season in the US of A. And on Saturday, he scored another goal for his side in a 2-1 loss to New York City FC as well. That's in the MLS. Now he's scored 11 goals in 18 MLS games. Very good return for a player who's not even a striker. He operates from the wings or as a second striker. 11 goals in 18 games. Not a bad return at all for David Accam. And during the game, of course, we can't show you his goal because of rights issues. But during the game, you know, he performed this piece of skill that was all over Twitter, and I hope we can play it in the background as I go through his stats for you. David Accam, you know, very, you know, pacey on the ball, very slow after that. Now seeing on your screen, interesting. David Accam 1-2 into the box, interesting. You know, nimble footed David Accam, always doing Ghana proud. Of course, this is 3rd season, and he scored 35 goals in 72 games since he joined in 35 goals in 72 games. This is coming from someone who has been who is currently in his mid-20s playing for Chicago Fire in the MLS. Of course, he was snubbed, interestingly, for the MLS All-Star game this season. Very sad for him. I see him as one of the biggest stars in the MLS currently, and it's so sad he won't be in the All-Star game, which will be played in August, which is just next month, in fact, in the US of A. So David Accam scoring his 11th goal in 18 MLS appearances this season, his 35th goal in 72 MLS appearances in the last 3 years alone. So, you know, a lot of goal options for Kwesi Appiah, the Ghana Black Stars coach, going forward. Raphael Dwamena is doing well in Switzerland. David Accam doing very well in the US of A. And of course, Richmond Boachie-Adom, who we've talked about a lot this season. He joined Red Star Belgrade in January and has scored so many goals since then. Been firing from all cylinders in the Europa League preliminaries as well there. So interesting times for Ghana football and for Ghana strikers as well. Now let's go for a quick break. I'll be back to read your comments and go to our list of other news before we end the Game Plan show. On the Game Plan show, we are still streaming live on our Facebook page, Pulse Ghana Sport. My name is Fifi Anaman. Thank you for spending your Monday night with me and the Pulse Sports team. Isaac Otubo on camera, Kojo Trineboa on MCR, Michael Leduse, our head of social media, Benjamin Jau on executive producer duties, and of course Fifi Coleman Abedu and Eja Yao as well. I'm still on the Game Plan show, like I said. Let's just move on to our other news that we'll be discussing tonight. First on the agenda, Yusuf Basigi, former Black Queens coach. He's now been named the head coach of Ghana's under-20 female team, the Black Princesses. He was recently in charge of the Black Queens, and now people are saying he's been demoted, you know, to manage the Black Princesses, the under-20 side. Now, The new coach of the Queens is, of course, Masood Didi Dramani, former Kotoko coach and former Black Maidens coach. He has replaced Yusuf Batiki, who will now be managing the Princesses as well. So that's it from the camp of the Black Princesses and Queens. Let's move on to the Black Maidens and Sulemana Meimunatu, former Black Queens international goalkeeper. She has been named the goalkeepers trainer for the national under-17 female team, the Black Maidens. Sorry there. And let's move on, of course, to more news happening with Ghanaian players as well. Thomas Ejapon is a Black Star star. He is currently on the books of Manchester City in England, but he's been on loan at NAC Breda over the last few months. In fact, he spent last season, he scored 3 goals in 33 games for NAC Breda in the Dutch Eredivisie. We are hearing that he has signed an extension of his loan deal in the Netherlands. So he'll be staying for another year from Manchester City as well. Thomas Ejapon, of course, is from the Right to Dream Academy in Ghana. He recently made his Black Star debut and wowed all fans at the Baba Yara Stadium in Kumasi in that 5-0 victory over Ethiopia as well. So that's it for Thomas Ejapon. Let's move on to the Black Starlets, the national under-17 camp. And we are hearing that the team manager Samuel Abuabire, popularly known as Qatar, was involved in an accident on the Tema motorway on Saturday night. Very sad stuff there. His car completely got mangled. We are hearing that he drove into a vehicle after his tire got burst on the highway. We are hearing that he's responding to treatment at the 37 Military Hospital. So good news coming in for Samuel Abuabire, aka Qatar, the team manager of the Black Starlets, who will be going to the World Cup in India in October. They'll be making their first World Cup appearance, the Black Starlets, for the first time in 10 years. They'll be kicking off their campaign on the 6th of October in New Delhi against Colombia. So mark that in your dates. The Black Starlets will be playing their first World Cup game in 10 years on the 6th of October in New Delhi as well. But speedy recovery, speedy recovery to you, Qatar, the team manager of the Black Starlets, involved in an accident on the Tema motorway on Saturday there as well. Thank you very much for joining us for today's edition of the Game Plan Show. Let me read a few comments before we bounce out, and I'll tell you about Abedi Pele. I almost forgot about this. Abedi Pele, interesting stuff happening in Abedi Pele's camp. Let me just do that story before we read our comments and leave the show. Now, former chairman or former president of Olympique Marseille, Bernard Tapie, has come out to say that he used a very unusual, and if you ask me, a rather sinister trick to land Abedi Pele to play for Marseille in 1987. Now, he's saying that Abedi Pele was initially supposed to go to Monaco. He even had trials and a medical at Monaco. He actually paid someone at Monaco to lie that Abedi Pele was HIV positive. And that is why Monaco abandoned the deal for Abedi Pele. And that enabled Abedi Pele to sign for Marseille. And he played for Marseille from 1987 to 1993, winning 2 Ligue 1 titles as well as the Champions League in 1993. So very weird method. Unprofessional, unethical if you ask me, from Bernard Tapie. But he said it very casually, as if, it was something normal. It's just politics and people should just live with it. I think it's very wrong for you to use such a grave means of claiming somebody is HIV positive just so you can land the signature. But the dirty world of football politics, as we say. Bernard Tapie coming up so many years later, in fact 30 years after signing Abedi Pele, he has come out to say that he used the HIV trick, saying that Abedi Pele was HIV positive. Of course he's not. Let's make it clear on the Game Plan Show. Abedi Pele, a legend, the 3-time African Footballer of the Year, is not HIV positive. The president of Marseille, the former president of Marseille, is saying that he used that trick to land the signature as well. Now let's move on to a few comments before we end the show. The 52nd edition of the Game Plan Show. Thank you, all of you, for joining us again. Let me read your comments before we say goodbye. Ferguson, Kwanzaa Steve, Accam has always been my man. Thank you for joining us, Ferguson. Big ups to Dwamena, you're also saying. Mubarak Hazard, you're saying David Accam, keep it up. Nicken, senior citizen, you're saying he's a very strong striker. Raphael Dwamena. Yaonyaku, you're saying what a goal from Raphael Dwamena. Mohamed Mustafa is saying nice goal. Noah Touche Alawi is saying great goals. Collins Boama is saying please tell them not to call Asamoah Gyan again. Hey, very controversial comment coming in from you, Collins Boama, but it's your opinion and I respect it as well. Cephas Pogli, Wafa will win the league. Thank you for your comment. And Yao Nyako is saying thank you, Fifi. Thank you to all of you, to Yao Nyako, to Nana Kweku, to everyone, to Kwanzaa Steve, everyone who has joined us for tonight's edition of the Game Plan Show. I'll be back same time tomorrow with more on what is happening on the Ghanaian sports scene. My name is Fifi Anaman and I'll stream it live on Pulse Ghana Sports. Enjoy your night and be good. See you tomorrow.